Hello and welcome to the Royal Road School of Carmelite Prayer. We continue our study of the interior life of St. Teresa of Avila, taken from an article entitled Love for Love, the Life and Works of St. Teresa of Jesus, written by St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, also known as Edith Stein. In Teresa's writings, this doctor of prayer later presented the mystical life of grace in all of its stages with an incomparable clarity. The neophyte that she was, who was beginning to practice prayer but did not yet know what was happening in her soul. But in order to make her further development intelligible, it is now necessary for us to say a few words about her interior life. So, prayer is the communication of the soul with God. God is love. And love is goodness, giving itself away. It is a fullness of being that does not want to remain enclosed within itself, but rather to share itself with others, to give itself to them, and to make them happy. All of creation exists thanks to this divine love spending itself. However, the highest of all creatures are those endowed with spirit, able to receive God's love with understanding and to return it freely, angels and human souls. Prayer is the highest achievement of which the human spirit is capable. But it is not merely a human achievement. Prayer is, if you'd like to think of it this way, a Jacob's ladder on which the human spirit ascends to God and God's grace descends to people. The stages of prayer are distinguished according to the measure in which the natural efforts of the soul and God's grace participate. When the soul is no longer active by virtue of its own efforts, but is simply a receptacle for grace, one speaks of a mystical life of prayer. So-called vocal prayer is designated as the lowest stage. Prayer that remains within specifically designated spoken forms: the Our Father, the Hail Mary, the Rosary, the Divine Office. Of course, vocal prayer is not to be understood as simply saying words. If the mere words of a prayer alone are said without the soul's raising itself to God, this is only an outward show and not real prayer. The designated words, however, support the spirit and prescribe to it a fixed path. Meditative prayer is one stage higher. Here, the spirit moves more freely without being bound to specific words. It immerses itself, for example, in the mystery of the birth of Jesus. The spirit's imagination, fantasia, transports it to the grotto in Bethlehem, seeing the child in the manger, the holy parents, the shepherds, and the kings. The intellect ponders the greatness of divine mercy. The emotions are seized by love and thankfulness. The will decides to make itself more worthy of divine love. This is how meditative prayer involves all the soul's powers, and when practiced with faithful persistence, can gradually remake the whole person. However, the Lord has yet another way of rewarding fidelity in meditation. That is, He elevates the soul to a higher manner of praying. Amen. This is the end of part 2. To be continued.